All right, you ready to jump into another deep dive? Today's topic might throw you for a loop. We're going to explore this idea of, well, why men seem to get more, I don't know, emotional as they get older.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing to think about, right? We've got this picture in our heads of like the classic tough guy who never cracks a smile.
Right, right. So, like, picture this. You've got this grizzled dude, maybe watching a commercial, and suddenly he's all choked up. What's the deal?
Well, our source material, crying.pdf, it really dives into this whole thing. It's like, is it just, society changing? Or is there something deeper going on, like biologically?
Okay, so that's our mission today. We're going to try to figure out why the older a guy gets, the more likely he is to, tear up at a Hallmark commercial or
Okay.
something.
And we'll dig into a bunch of stuff along the way. Hormones, life experiences, all that.
I think everyone's probably noticed this at some point, right? Like your dad or your grandpa getting a little misty-eyed over something that wouldn't have fazed them 20 years ago.
Oh, for sure. So maybe we should start with that whole stoic man stereotype. The idea that men aren't supposed to show their feelings.
Right, like they're supposed to just suck it up and tough it out. Like how much of that is just how we've always done things, culturally, and how much of it is like actual biology?
Okay, so for generations, men have been basically taught that crying equals weakness.
Right.
Like from childhood, it's like, don't cry, be strong, that whole thing. But now we've got research that's looking at, hormones and stuff, like testosterone.
Oh, interesting. So how does that tie in?
Well, so studies show that testosterone actually drops as men get older, like around 1% every year after they hit 30.
Wow, I didn't know it was that consistent.
Yeah, and some researchers think that those higher levels of testosterone, especially when guys are younger, might actually be part of why they don't cry as much. It's like it's keeping the tears in check.
So as guys age and their testosterone drops, it's like they're less, I don't know, inhibited, like more free to express what they're feeling.
It's definitely a possibility. It's like a physical change is happening that's like opening them up emotionally.
That's super interesting. Now, what about oxytocin? I've heard of that. It's like the love hormone,
Yeah.
right? Does that factor into all of this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So while testosterone is going down, oxytocin is staying pretty steady or even going up as men age.
Okay, so different patterns. Got it. But why is that significant?
Well, studies suggest that oxytocin might actually help with like regulating emotions and maybe even lowering stress, especially as guys get older. And that could explain why they seem to be more like empathetic and open with their feelings.
So we've got less testosterone, maybe leading to less holding back of emotions. And then we've got oxytocin possibly boosting things like empathy and connection. It does seem like that could, lead to a few more tears being shed.
For sure. But hormones are just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right. I mean, think about it. If you're in your 60s, you've got a lot more life under your belt than someone in their 20s. More experiences, more everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like you've loved, you've lost, you've had victories and probably some pretty tough defeats too. And all of that shapes how you feel things, how you react to stuff.
It all adds up, I guess.
Yeah.
Build something deeper. Yeah, it's like they say, the deeper the well, the sweeter the water. But I guess that also means, the well can hold more sadness too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about like feeling happy more intensely. It's about having a bigger capacity for all the emotions, the joy, the sorrow, the whole spectrum.
It's like, think about music. Like a song that maybe didn't do much for you when you were younger can suddenly like really hit you hard years later.
Right. It's because it's all tied up with memories now, with people, places, experiences. It's almost like the song has aged right along with you.
That's so true. There are definitely some songs that like totally wreck me now that I'm older. It's like they've, I don't know, they've gained some extra emotional weight or something.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing about getting older, I think. It's not that you're getting weaker, more fragile. It's more like you're just, developing a deeper inner life.
So those tears, those moments where you get choked up, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It might actually be a good sign, like a sign that you've really lived and felt things.
Exactly. It's like a testament to the richness of your experiences. And maybe it's also a sign that you're more comfortable, letting go of that whole tough guy act a little bit.
Right. Like, have you noticed that it seems like as guys get older, they just kind of stop caring so much about what other people think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. When you're younger, you're trying to prove yourself. You feel all this pressure to fit in, to be a certain way. But as you get older, a lot of that just falls away. You're more secure in who you are, I guess.
So it's not that those anxieties and insecurities go away entirely. It's more like you just reach a point where you don't feel like you have to hide them all the time.
Exactly. You realize that, showing your vulnerability, it doesn't make you weak. It actually takes a lot of strength to be that open and honest.
And it lets you connect with people on a deeper level, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen this in your own life, by the way? Like
Yeah.
an older guy, maybe a mentor or something, who just got more expressive and open as he got older. It's an interesting thing to think about, isn't it?
It is. And, another thing that plays into all of this is loss. As we age, we experience more and more of that, losing loved ones, missed opportunities, even just, the loss of our younger selves.
Man, that's a lot to process. And I could definitely see how all that accumulated loss could make someone, more prone to tears.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not just about crying more, It's about understanding the full range of human emotions, the light and the dark, all of it.
So you're saying, like, even though loss can bring a lot of sadness, it can also make you more empathetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with each loss, you develop a deeper capacity for both grief and compassion. It's a tough trade-off, but it's also what makes us human,
It really makes you think about how we view crying, especially for men. Maybe instead of seeing it as a weakness, we should start seeing it as, I don't know, like a sign of strength or something.
I totally agree. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to let your guard down and really feel things deeply, to connect with your emotions in a genuine way without worrying about what other people think.
It's funny, right? Like, we celebrate emotional expression in artists and musicians all the time, but for some reason, when it comes to everyday guys, it's like this weird taboo thing.
It's a double standard for sure. Being able to express your emotions, whether it's through tears or laughter or just, heartfelt words, it's a sign of emotional intelligence. And that's a huge asset in life, no matter who you are. It helps you build better relationships, navigate tough situations, and just generally live a more fulfilling life.
It makes you think about what we're teaching boys. About what it means to be strong. It's all about, like, holding it all in and not showing any weakness.
Yeah.
What if we, like, totally flip that? What if we started telling them that being in touch with their feelings is actually a good thing, a huge strength?
Oh, man, that would be amazing. Think about it. If guys felt comfortable expressing themselves, being vulnerable, it could change everything. Their relationships would be stronger. They'd be healthier mentally. It would be a ripple effect.
Yeah, this is a pretty powerful idea. It makes me think about, like, the guys in my own life, or my dad, my brother, my friends. Am I, like, actually giving them space to, open up and be themselves? Am I even doing that myself? It's something to think about for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember this isn't about, like, forcing guys to cry or anything. It's about giving them permission to feel the whole range of emotions and express them in a healthy way, however that looks for them.
Right. It's not about being, like, overly emotional. It's about being emotionally intelligent, being aware of what you're feeling and knowing how to, deal with it in a constructive way.
And think about, like, some of the most incredible people throughout history. Leaders, artists, revolutionaries, so many of them were deeply emotional people. They weren't afraid to show their passion, their sadness, their hopes, all of it. They understood that connecting with people on an emotional level is powerful.
It's such a good point. It's like, we've put emotions in this little box and said, okay, that's for artists and musicians, but everyone else, just keep it bottled up. And it's, like, especially true for men, it seems.
Yeah, it's like this weird blind spot we have as a culture. But the truth is, being able to feel deeply and express those feelings, that's what makes us human. It's what lets us connect with each other in a real way and, build a more compassionate world.
This has been, like, a really eye-opening conversation. I think what I'm taking away from this is that when guys cry more as they get older, it's not like a sign that they're falling apart or anything. It's actually more like a sign of growth.
Yeah.
Their hormones are changing, they've got all this life experience, and they're letting go of those old ideas about what it means to be a man.
Exactly. It's about understanding that true strength comes from being in touch with your emotions, not from hiding them.
So to wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. How can we all, I mean everyone, men and women, how can we create a world where being emotionally expressive is seen as a good thing? How can we help the guys in our lives feel safe, being vulnerable, and showing their true selves?
It starts with conversations, like the one we're having right now. It's about questioning those old, outdated ideas about masculinity and creating a new definition that's more inclusive and understanding.
It's about unlearning those old patterns and being more authentic, more ourselves. And that's what makes it so exciting, We're all learning and growing and becoming more emotionally intelligent. So let's keep talking about this stuff, challenge those old stereotypes, and build a world where everyone feels free to express themselves fully, no matter who they are.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you some new things to think about and maybe even spark some important conversations in your own life. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep feeling.